Welcome back, everyone. Of course, first talking point this morning will be centering on the alleged plots of interim government and its implication on Nigeria's democracy. We're being joined by political analyst, Mr. ADENIYI. Good morning. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning, viewers at home.
Well, I'm interested in starting this conversation with a check on whether or not there's a veracity of the claims of a plot for interim government. Where is this allegation really coming from? How substantiated is this allegation that there are some people plotting for interim government, which many have also said it's alien to Nigeria's constitution?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the statement was credited to the DSS, and that in itself is, to some of us, very funny. How can an agency that is supposed to act secretly come on here to come and allege without any proof that people are planning interim government? So the question should be directed to the DSS. A week have passed by and we are still waiting for people. They said they've had credible facts. Where are the facts? It's unfortunate that every time in this country they take the masses for a ride. If you want to distract the attention of people from they just concluded the election, you've done that with the money policy that did not work. You've done that with some other things. You cannot come on here and make such bogus allegations.
Are you also alleging that it's a plot to divert the attention of Nigerians from electoral?
Personal opinion. That is because I've read through their statement over and over again. If you claim that because people are planning to protest, which is their right, it's a legitimate right for people to protest. Nobody can gag it. You can try as much as possible to condemn, to make issue out of the protest, but protest in Nigeria is a right. It's a right for every citizen of this country. The only thing that looks like an issue in their statement is that people are planning violent protest. And I ask myself, how do you term a protest that has not been carried out violent? You have a duty as a security, personnel, to protect every protester. That is what the law says. The court have ruled over this many years ago, and we cannot run away from it. So the DSS must live in accordance with the law of this country. They are not above the law. If you have a genuine fact that people are planning interim government, fine, you come up with the facts and figures. Get them, arrest them.
That's a secret security agency.
Why did they come up
and tell you the details of?
They don't need to. That's in the first instance. They are not supposed to. It's a secret agency, like you said. They are not supposed to even come out and announce such. They are supposed to do their findings and get. Whoever is involved arrested. It was after arrest. Not that you make you've concluded a case before you even try. To arrest. It happened in the days of Moyele Sowore in this country. It had its own protest revolution now. The protest has not been carried out. It has not been done. You arrested him. For 5 months you detained him without any proof. You brought him to court many times. The court said you have failed in this area. You did not, nothing incriminating was found. You've been able to prove against this gentleman. It is not correct. Every time the DSS come up with all things like this, it's appalling that an agency that is supposed, we expect they are not supposed to work like the police or if it is the police making such allegation, we say okay, but the DSS, no, it is not correct that you come up with with a statement, not an allegation now, because you've not been able to pinpoint anybody.
Aren't you looking at this from the angle that it might also be a proactive way of letting those who might be behind the plot to know that, look, your plans have been...
If to them is the proactive way, then the joke is taken too far. Interim government is when you look at the word itself, Nigeria is not in war. That is the situation of the country as now. We are not at war. We are not in crisis. Why would somebody wake up one day and talk about interim government? Even if there are crises in some states, you talk about state of emergencies, that cannot lead to an interim government. The state won't declare. The presidency, as headed by Muhammadu Buhari, have said oftentimes that he is going to hand over May 29 to the unelected president. So why do we have to bring in that? Now, if it is to cover, we understand that some of these things to us is just to cover the failure of the just
your personal opinion.
Yes, just to cover the failure of just concluded 2023 general election. But man, they went too far with the statement that Nigerians are planning interim government. It is not people, masses that do plan interim government. It is government.
Will it not be prejudice, as it were, to allege that it's a plot to divert the attention of Nigerians from what you term the failure of the just concluded general election? Of course, that's your opinion. And my question is, don't you think that's somehow presumptuous? In any case, the agency of government you are alleging has gone too far in what you term the joke. It's not a political party. So what business will it have diverting the attention of people from what you term the failure in the general election? Aren't you looking at it from that?
Whatever affects, there might not be a political party, but whatever affects a section of the country affects every other part of the country. And it's a very, you as a journalist, with your station here, you felt that you need to know more about this interim government. It would have been better to even bring in, or will not they might, because of the code of their job, they might not wanted to come and talk about it. But the truth is, a week has gone by since we had this statement of an interim government, and nobody and nothing substantial have been proved. Nobody have been picked up. We are getting closer to May 29. Today is 2nd or 3rd of April. We are getting closer to May 29. Are we going to wait till it is now not easy for us to cope? No, and that was why some of us told me that if it is a way to divert our attention from the just concluded election, then there is no point, because the joke, they took it too far. You cannot, when you talk of a interim government, it means you want to suspend the constitution of the country. It means maybe the country is at war or we're in crisis. If it is a proactive way to stop protest, my brother, there is no when, because we kept saying it, that the government, the government that is coming in, what is going to battle in the next 4 years, will be an issue of, a legitimacy, and that is the truth. When you look at the percentage of people who do not want the government to the percentage of people who voted in the government, then you know those are the areas they are supposed to run. Like the president-elect himself said that it's going through the country to look into how they can main offenses across these people. If you match that of the PDP, all political parties apart from APC, it doubles, it's not triples, it doubles. The votes of the president-elect. So it's going to be a problem of, there's going to be a problem of legitimacy. So there may be protests, skirmishes in some areas. It is normal. You cannot take that out of a democratic process. That is the simple truth. So if the DSS is trying to say because they do not want protest, no, it is difficult. You cannot guard the people have to express themselves. It's a right.
But the DSS statement did not talk about gagging people.
But they talked about that because they felt that there's going to be dangerous or violent protests. That is the same thing. If I begin to say because I do not want this to happen, then I should be proactive to be putting some things in place. It's as good as that. You may decide to use whatever language. But what we are driving at the same,
the utterances,
the same thing.
The utterances of people after the election, even up until now, do you not think that is the reason behind most of this, behind the statement from the DSS? Now, some people have said Nigerians should not allow the handover to happen. That if it happens, it's going to cause chaos. Others have said no, we will take to the streets. So are you not thinking that is the reason why DSS has taken it up like that?
Yes, it is a very good one to be proactive. But what I am saying is that going that far to talk about an interim government is what some of us felt shouldn't have come in. Of course, people are angry. People felt, the constitution, people felt the electoral body has failed, the masses again. They come with the electoral act as passed by the National Assembly, as assented to by the president himself. They have the guideline of the elections. So and there are consequences for violating those guys. So those are the things we expected. Those are the things Nigerians are talking about. That if these people were allowed to violate this electoral act, their guideline, and they went away with it, then who knows what will happen in the next 4 years. That is the simple truth. What we are saying is that INEC, the protest people are talking about is against INEC mainly. it was INEC who declared a president-elect. We are not saying the president is not elected because over 8 million people came out to elect him and he won the simple majority vote. So he is a president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But the process, the election is not the election is not just the voting day alone. There is a process. We have an act that is guiding this election. They have a guideline set up to guide this election. INEC itself went out of its own guideline. And that is why people are talking about protest. So the issue should be addressed, either through the court, in fact, most of the time it is through the court. And that's what we are talking about. But people saying they want to protest against some of this idea, it is not. To some of us, protest cannot be taken away from this society. It is a right of every Nigerian to say, even in your house, your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband can protest against you. God, this is not the way we planned. This wasn't our agreement. This was our agreement. This was our plan. You cannot change. The moment you are changing from what we both sat down to discuss and that this is how we want to achieve this, that is what normally leads to it can be in your house.
What if the DSS actually have a cogent and strong information that something like that was about to happen? Because if you will agree with me, even after the election, some people in the ruling party are still aggrieved. Many strong members of the ruling party are aggrieved, and there is a possibility that those ones in the party and that are still in government are not happy with what is happening. They might be planning something like that. Because I don't know.
My sister, nobody is above the law. I am not saying DSS is wrong for trying to be proactive. No, nobody is above the law. If you realize that some certain set of people that are in government or that are out of government or that are in opposition or that are member of a political party is planning issues like this, take it up with them. Don't put the fear. This is a fear. They've created a fear, a kind of fear in the minds of Nigerians, and we've been discussing it in the last 1 week. We never knew where it will lead to, because up till now we've not had anything again about it, apart from all of us are running with this statement. So nobody is above the law. If we have anybody doing that, let them take the matter up directly and let us. It is a matter of
how well do you want this issue taken up? How well?
Those who are planning it should be, picked up. Once there is facts, that they got the facts that this thing is real, they should be picked up. It's a very simple. When Memorial Election was planning his revolutionary protest, a day, 2 days to it even announced August 5th. 2 days, August 3rd, it was picked up by the DSS. And the court took over from there. He spent 5 months in detention, and the court said, well, because you've not been able to prove anything against this gentleman, allow him to go. So that is a way to be proactive. Some of us condemn that act because if nobody carries out a revolution that is going to announce. That was announcing what he was going to do in the country. As announcing protest, nobody will be announcing that he's coming to do a violent protest. The job of the security agencies is to make sure that a protest that is targeted peaceful, all protests begin peacefully. Okay, a protest that is targeted peaceful protest should not escalate to a violent one. That is what they should be thinking, how not to escalate to a violent one. Not that they should, even before the protest starts, stop the protest. No.
Now, assuming but not conceding that some people are planning, they are plotting for an interim government, what is the implication of this? Why should we really be bothered about such plots if the system, the structure, and the fiber of Nigeria's democracy and polity is really, are really strong enough to ward off such infiltration?
You see, the only set of people who can plan or talk about interim government are the set of people who are leading this country. They are in government. So if you want to talk of interim government, it is going to bring us back to the dark age. Nobody should be talking of interim government in a fledgling democracy. We're talking of interim, we are talking of setting aside all democratic which some of us will not even agree with. Nobody can bring up interim government after an election has been conducted. If there are crises associated with the election, which we expected all political parties to take advantage of the relevant section of the constitution that allow them to approach the court of law. So political parties cannot be planning interim government outside the government in power. It is the government. So if there is anything called interim government, it is the government that is going to hand over to interim government, not the political parties. So those in government are the ones that we are even talking about, and they are still, as we speak, they are still in charge of this country.
But that also be the reason you're saying that the DSS must tell us who.
They must tell us. That is what every Nigerian is yearning for now. We want to know. The opposition political parties cannot be planning interim government. If they apply it, we die with them because they do not have the power to bring it to manifestation. It is just in government. So we are interested in knowing who is planning this interim government. It is about protest.
Just a moment. How then do we juxtapose this your position with the continued and avowed commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to hand over to the president-elect? How do you juxtapose the two?
And that is where the issue we are talking about comes up. The president or the city president have always said it. The presidents have confirmed that they are going to hand over to a democratically elected president of Nigeria. Come May 29, there won't be vacuum. It is in an area whereby we are talking of vacuum. Maybe, for instance, let me put it this way: if a court today, a competent court today, said the handover, should not be done. If a competent court today said the election should not, be taken, and May 29 draw closer to us, there are even provisions in the constitution who should take over, not an interim government. So up to now, we are still thinking where the thought came up from. If it was the thought from maybe the court will say May 29 should not hold, or that the political parties will continue their protest in May 29, then it is, I term it a joke taken too far.
Now,
that by bringing in an
it
interim
mean,
government. It is the government alone that can set up an interim national government, not political parties.
Does it imply that the forces against the president-elect are very strong? Let me give you an example. During the campaign electioneering period, when the issue of the Naira crunch and fuel scarcity came, it was reported that there are some people in government that do not want him to succeed. Now he has succeeded, the issue of the interim government comes up. Does it mean that force against him is very strong?
You see, APC as a political party they are always the best at whatever they do. So some of us do not take some of these comments serious. If you want to tell us there are forces that do not want the APC government to an APC candidate to succeed an APC government, where is it coming from? The money policy by Emefiele is an appointee of the APC. It's a very simple thing. If you have issue with it, not with the presidency. The fuel palaver that happened under the APC government. What was said as the outgoing government, if it is allowed here, the outgoing government failed the country, failed the nation, and people felt bad, bitter about it. So they should not. This idea of not trying to make it an issue that comes from the opposition. We kept wondering how possible is that? How is that? Visible. If there are forces against the president-elect, I just mentioned one, which is a very grave one. When you look at the percentage, 32% of electorate. When you look at the total electorate, out of over close to 100 million registered voters, we only have less than about 30 million people voted, which is just less than half of that, the registered voter. Out of these people, less than half of it again, less than about 32 or so, 38% of it actually voted the president. So the issue of people having issue with the general people, you cannot take it away from it. Some people do not want the APC. Some people wanted another party. And when you look at all of those people wanted another party compared to people wanted the APC, they have not far out with that. So it certainly, I said it earlier, that he may have problem of legitimacy when he is eventually sworn. So it's not about his party trying to bring him down. I don't believe in all of that, because all of these policies under the APC happens through the APC government.
Where is it coming from?
That's why I said they are best in whatever they do. I used the word earlier that when you want to distract the attention of people, you just create something that is very vague, and the people begin to run with it, leaving the substance, the substance in what we are talking about. Nobody is talking about the electoral act as relates the election again. Everybody is not talking about what we call it, talking about the interim national government. The electoral act is very simple. The section 65 and the election guidelines, the INEC guidelines itself, made it clear that any presiding officer who do not upload to IREV is liable to about a year imprisonment of 500,000 naira. Nobody is talking about it that again, because that's why I say all of this is just to distract people from the main issue. And we are looking seriously onto the court, being the last hope of the common man, to do just because if some of these are allowed to go like this, then we will be facing, it will have set as precedent in the nearest future. And you never knew, Nigeria, democracy has come to stay in Nigeria, and nothing can change that. Yeah, not even bad electoral processes like this. The only thing is that many of them, this will be about the first time that almost every part of the country is going to court. As at the last count, Friday, over 300 petitions have gone to court. Petitioners have gone to court across the country. So it's difficult. I don't know how INEC, that is the truth. If they begin to battle that alone, INEC, I'm not sure they will have time to do some any other thing tangible. So I don't know how they are going to see through over 300, and it is still rising because the window is not closed yet. Windows for petition. It was after that we had that even here in Ondo State there have been petition now against INEC and those they declared as winners of election. So it's going to be the next 6 months in this country is going to be a very interesting one. So they should not be distracting us with this. Let us face the real issue.
Why do you really think this is about distracting Nigerians? You keep talking about distracting.
Not until it is proven.
You're not seeing any substance in the proactiveness to deal with the matter of plotting for an interim government.
The best thing to do when somebody sat in his office or at his home in Lagos to say he's going to invite IPOP to Lagos if so thing to know, what did they do immediately? It was picked up less than 24 hours. So if you have any evidence on this, you don't need to tell Nigerians. Do your job. You are doing your job now. You wanted the people to know if this thing is correct or not. We may not ascertain we cannot ascertain the correctness. You cannot ascertain. You only wanted to get views of people. You are doing your job. So let them do their own job by apprehending whoever is involved. Even if nobody is above the law. That is what the Constitution of Nigeria says. If it is from the presidency, let them pick everybody up. At a point when people felt they may have gone beyond, is bound. Some state governors went to court. And they got judgment against him at the Supreme Court that you cannot do this, not because it is election time, but because Nigerians are suffering. And they got judgment on it. So if there is anything like that, they should do their job by simply apprehending those people, take them to court. They are not the one to decide their fate. It is the court. So the court will now tell, if the court says today that truly there are people, then some of us will backtrack and say it is real. But not until then. All of this as mere to us are mere speculations, and that's why we term it as distractions to Nigerians. This country is too serious to toe the path of an ING at this material time. The only time it happened, go back to history. It was not people who decided it. It was government. We just woke up to say we were having an interim national government led by SY and Shonek, and then it was the people that decided it. People kept protesting every day against Babangida that you cannot annul June 12th. Buhari hasn't annuled our February 25th February 25th election. Yeah, he has said it times and over again that the election stand, or except the court decide otherwise. So why not keep faith with him?
Will it be safe to say you're pointing accusing fingers to those in government as being the masterminds of the alleged plots? And could that be why it is difficult to also publicly announce whoever is behind this plot?
I am not pointing accusing fingers. I said personally I do not believe anything like that existed. Okay. So I cannot be pointing finger to what I do not even believe in. Nothing is proven. I don't even believe there is a call for ING from any quarter. What I know, people are talking about that there may be protests against INEC for violating its own set rule and violating the law of the land, which is a right.
Well, let's give it further, a bit away from the alleged plot for interim national government. If Nigeria would really succeed, especially in the dispensation we're looking forward to come May 29, what should be the low-hanging fruits for that government to really, you're saying that it will be difficult to assert legitimacy, it will be battling with the issues of legitimacy, but even in the midst of that, what should be the preoccupation in the mind of the government towards unity of the country in a tensely, and I'm choosing my word carefully, tensely or potentially tensely divided arena like ours?
Yes, it's a privilege to be president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because out of over 200 million Nigerians, you just be given the responsibility to lead the country. We will expect that the president-elect, having been sworn in, should hit the ground running straight, so that it won't create.
So that time it will not be president.
It will not be president. I said that will be sworn in to hit the ground running straight, so that every tension from every region of the country can be calm. We will not want a president that will come again and wait for another 6 months before we put in cabinet members in office. By then, agitation will have been growing so high. Justice delayed is justice, denial. So as it's coming in, by now we expected that a serious party like APC will be putting their heads together on how to midwife this country out of this crisis we are in, and not still following whether there is a plot for an interim government or there is a plot not to swear in the president-elect, because the president and the chief commander of the Federal Republic, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, have said it times that is going to hand over to an elected president as declared by INEC, and the court have not spoken otherwise. Though they should forget about this issue where they are to, and they should face governance. Come in, face governance. There are issues across the 6 geopolitical zones of the countries. And when you come in and tension begin to, and you are serious about it, you see tensions coming down. Even people planning to protest them, once they feel that they are carried along, they are part of the government, it will not be like the case of 95% to 5%. See everybody, you are not the president of APC political party, you are the president of Nigeria. So see the whole country as your baby. Then I think people will not have choice than to key into your government and to hope that certainly you are going to deliver on most of your promises, campaign promises, if not all. And we've read it over. They prepared the document themselves. Though they should, there is nothing stopping them from delivering on all the campaign promises. Okay. But if they cannot, but the substantial one of it, majority or most of it should be delivered. If it is delivered, Nigerians will quickly adapt to situation. When you look at the fuel crisis that happened in the last 2 months, the money crisis, you will see that Nigeria by nature can withstand anything, any crisis. We've withstand some before, the days of Ebola and co. And what happened during the Naira crisis, we survived it. So nothing can be too scary for Nigerians that we won't survive. But if the government take its own part and are responsible to the citizen of this country, then there won't be. I don't see in encountering many danger, many crises like some of us have fear, but not doing this part of people talking about ING or people talking about him not being sworn. Sworn in. Election have held, a winner have been declared. May 29, we expect a change of baton from President Muhammadu Buhari to President-elect Tinubu, so long the court do not speak otherwise. So let's wait for the court. If there are serious cases in court, which both the major political opponents said they have done.
Now let's look at the as part of what the president-elect is expected to do, this issue of tribal disunity. You know, this last election brought a lot of it, as bad as we did not expect. How do you expect him, or rather, how do you think he should address that situation?
You are very correct. The tribal issue did not start with the 2023 election. It just took another dimension. Every 4 years, I keep telling people, look, the next 4 years, it will happen again. But what I think, if your question is how do we tame it so that it will not happen?
Not terminate what we expect him to do, because this particular one, we've always had it, but this particular election is different. If you like,
as I said, it
different.
The election have come and has gone. Whatever we want to do now is to prevent that such do not happen. And how do you do that? By allow people to choose freely. People felt they are being disenfranchised. People felt they were not allowed to choose freely who they wanted to vote for. That was what led to most of this crisis, and that we have the crescendo in Lagos State. So if you allow the people who have lived in a particular place, who have been part of the process over the years, to choose freely and determine whoever lead them, we won't be having, this crisis. It happens everywhere. There are some places, some little village where they say no. It happens in Ondo State, the local government. And at the end of the day, it's a non-indigenous who won the election, and they did not. Nothing happened afterwards. As much as they tried to campaign, we don't want a non-indigenous. Eventually, because he got the party ticket, he won the election, and nothing will happen. They won because of that stuff. Because he has lived and be part of that process. So they should allow people. What we did not do in Ondo is that they did not take it as far as what they did in Lagos by going to attack a non-indigenous, but they actually campaigned against non-indigenous opposition party leading representing us at the level of the State House of Assembly. But eventually we did not hear of any crisis. So the president-elect should be magnanimous enough to allow every tribe who lives anywhere in the country operate freely, so that by 2027 we will not be experiencing the same thing we experienced in 2023. We thank God the crisis did not take away the country and did not take away Lagos State. Lagos State is Lagos State. Nigeria remains Nigeria. We have firm belief that by May 29 there will be a change of party, and not to an interim national government, to an elected president.
Well, finally, before we let you go, INEC says 100 cases already, petitions have already been filed against outcome of the presidential, governorship, and the state assembly elections across Nigeria, and it has earmarked 3 billion naira for prosecution of cases that will be coming from that election. Now, what does this portend for the integrity of our electoral process, especially as we look forward to other elections? There are still some other elections that have not been conclusively conducted. What is the implication of this for us?
Most of these opinions are mine, because I'm in Nigeria and I am entitled to hear my view.
Well.
INEC has been constituted presently. I do not want to use a foul language on here, but it's unfortunate that it is only the time they needed money. They already envisaged there will be crisis. When we were talking about the beavers, the IRF, I remember I was in this studio, that the machine itself may be good, but how about the integrity of people handling the machine? Now we are talking about 3 billion. 3 billion naira who have done this country a whole lot of good. How much did they spend on this election that they cannot abide by their own rule? We saw what happened in Osun case, the tribunal, and now the appeal court. I think the case is still moving to Supreme Court until they give a final verdict. Most of the time we have been advocate of INEC itself being punished by the law each time issues of petitions like this come up that eventually upturn some of the victors they already declared. We cannot be wasting our money all of the time on litigation, money and resources. Some people, part of the reason we have states, about 8 or 9 states in this country, that are having their election separately from the general election, is the failure of INEC. We expect that in 2023, over 20 years that will come to them in terms with democracy, we are still having issues like this. Of course, all of us cannot sleep and face the same direction, but not as much as we keep seeing. Every year, every election year, it keeps increasing. So INEC should sit down and say it is that they conduct election according to the law, so that there will not be issues dragging ourselves to court. It is not correct that all of the time the court will be telling us who is to govern us. It happens in Bayelsa. Then it was so shameful to some of us that a governor, an elected governor that is planning to be sworn in maybe the next day, and the court said he cannot be sworn in because his vice deputy submitted some document that INEC already voted money for to verify. Why did they not get the job done before? I mean, they allowed them to even participate in the election. So that's why I said the election is not about voting alone. Election is a process, and the election act now make sure that the process is not for about 1 year before you can now get to the voting day. So you have a lot of time to scrutinize, to look into details submitted. Not that after election a court will now sit, a 3-man justices will now sit and say this thing is not correct because it is not correct from the beginning. It is not at the point that they want to give that judgment that the incorrectness of the issue came up. It was at the point of submitting those documents. So by then we expected that they should be, nobody is above the law. Don't because the ruling party or an opposition will want to threaten you, then you allow illegality, then court will now decide. So if you are taking 3 billion naira to court for election petition, at times we will begin to ask, is the body itself a very serious one? How independent are they? So INEC should live by the law. INEC is not above the law of the land. They should also live by the law so that this issue of court cases, tribunal and co will not arise every 4 years. There are some that will run in the next 4 years now. Nigerians are the ones suffering. Those states, those constituencies where their cases are in court are the ones suffering.
Your takeaway, the summary of your submission therefore is we shouldn't be distracted by the alleged plots or interest.
That is my takeaway, that Nigerians should go about their normal duties. If there are plans for an ING, government should come up with it. The DSS should pick whoever is involved, same way they pick people who are. You see, there are so many things that led to where we are now. This hate speech started during the campaign. This is just an accumulation of the hate speech. They now say, okay, where can we take it to? Let us begin to talk of interim national government. If they have been stopped when it started, we said that most of the presidential candidates, including the president-elect, were now foul of the law on hate speech. And the country should be serious enough to obey its own law and stop them or disqualify them.
I want to thank you very much for sharing your views with us on AM Today. Thank you so much, Mr. Alex ADENIYI.
Thank you, my brother, for having me this morning.
All right, everyone. This is where we say a big thank you to you for being part of the program. For my colleague, Flora.
Well, the day has been good, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I'm sure you did too. Have a beautiful week.
This is again Wednesday, God willing. I am Sunday Kolawole. Please enjoy the rest of the day. Good morning.